Hello, my name is Mark Anderson. I'm an application engineer for Saratech, and I specialize in CAM products. Today's CES session is going to be on NX CAM customization. This customization can also be done in the CAD environment as well, but this is going to be specific to CAM, but a lot of the different customizations will cover both suites of software. As I said, my name is Mark Anderson, and I am an applications engineer with Saratech. Here's our agenda. We're first going to talk about customizing the ribbon, and then we're going to go through a couple demonstrations of how that takes place. And each one of these bullet points has a demonstration attached with it. Then we're going to create a role. Then we're going to customize dialogues, and then we're going to customize and control templates. And then I'm going to show you how to become an administrator to standardize your programs and processes. In my experience in the field with Siemens products, NX CAM, and especially is I see people just customizing the standard environment to suit their needs, which it does work, but there's a lot of different problems that can happen with customizing the standard install. So we're going to talk about a couple different terms. One of them is going to be called Sandbox, and a sandbox is, think of it in a children's term. A sandbox is somewhere where you play. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a custom environment that controls all of your templates, all of your settings, all of your roles, all of your dialogues, and it's going to be on a separate location. So then we're going to point our environment variable to that new environment instead of the out-of-the-box environment. And what this does for you is it gives you the ability to back up at any time. So during these customizations, you're going to find that you're going to blow things up. Blow things up meaning it's going to work one day, you're going to make a change to something for something beneficial to you, and then all of a sudden the whole environment doesn't work. So we want to create backups of that working environment before we do any type of customization. But what happens if we completely blow the entire environment up and we don't have a backup? If we were to do that in the standard install of NX, now we have to reinstall NX because our standard environment, out of the box environment, is now corrupt. So that's why we create the sandbox environment and then point our custom environment variables to that location, so we can make changes as we see fit without destroying the entire installation. So with that, let's get started. So in this slide, I'm showing you what exactly is called the ribbon. The ribbon is this upper interface, the bar at the very top. You see you have tabs at the top: File, Home, Geometry, Analysis, View, Assemblies, Render Tools, Application, PMI. And you can add or remove different tabs at the top depending on what you do on your daily tasks. And then the icons below that is called the ribbon. So Create Tool all the way through Post Configurator. So you can modify this ribbon to where it's the most efficient ribbon that you would use daily. So the ribbon that you're seeing up right now is the standard out-of-the-box ribbon. I have my own personal ribbon that I program out of that doesn't have a lot of these functions in it, and it has an additional bunch of functions that I particularly use daily. So there's two reasons why we would want to do this, and I recommend that everyone does this. Even if you don't customize a ribbon, still create your own role, so that you can have something that you can take. So this is the reasoning here is, if you're running on your machine, you have a highly customized ribbon and interface. If your PC blows up, if your hard drive burns up, you have to go to another machine, a temporary machine, until you get a new PC. Or when that new PC comes in and you install NX, now you're in a vanilla environment to where your interface is now wiped out. So by creating a role, you can save this to a server location or save this to any other location, a USB drive, anything. And if anything happens to your base platform, your base machine, you just load in that role and then you're back to running within seconds. So it's important to create your own role so that you can transfer that anywhere that you need be. I mean, it could be as simple as your daily tasks are at the front corner of the office, but somebody has different bundle settings or bundles or products on a computer at the other side of the shop. Instead of just going to their machine, using their interface, having to relearn where their stuff is, you just take your role with you, save it into their system, select it, and now you're running your particular interface. And the create role dialog, this is down here on the navigators on the left-hand side of the screen here. second from the last, you'll see it's a wrench and a hammer symbol with a folder. That's the roles tab. And the only thing that you do is you go into one of the folders that are out of the box, content or presentation. I recommend content, and then go to advanced role. Advanced role, what roles do out of the box is it singles out certain functionality. So if you use a beginner role, then you're going to have a lot of the icons hidden. If you use an intermediate role, then a lot more will be available, but not as much as a full-blown advanced ribbon. So I always start off with the advanced ribbon, so everything is out in the open, and then I can pick and choose what I want to leave up there or what I want to add in, and then I save my role. And all you do to save your role is click in the background anywhere underneath in the white space here, create a new role, save it as a name, and then it'll be saved as a MTX file. So let's go ahead and do a demonstration with that. So what I'm opening right now is NX1888. I believe this is the newest platform, the most current platform of continuous release. And it's going to open with the out-of-the-box install, the out-of-the-box environment. So this is just basic standard installation. And then I'll show you how to activate a custom and what steps are needed in that. And right now I'm just opening any manufacturing part so that I'm in a manufacturing environment. So here are your navigators, as I was saying, on the left-hand side. And this here is your ribbon. And these are your tabs up top here. Now, to add or remove tabs, like for me personally, assemblies, PMI, those are all added tabs. You just right-click in the tan bar and customize. Now, this is where you find information, where you find operations or functionality, and then you drag them into the ribbon themselves. So before I get into that a little further, and you see that if I go into application, I have different icons that I can select here. So if I uncheck assemblies, you see now I do not have an assembly tab. I check assembly, I have an assembly tab, PMI. So that's how you add tabs to the top. You can also add tabs by going into customize and then hitting the plus button right here, plus. So this is how you can get more tab properties up there. So now back into roles. You go into the roles navigator, content, advanced. This is where I was telling you about how it's levels of icons that are available to you. So advanced has all of them. Essentials has few of them, and most of them are hidden. So double click. It's going to tell you that it's going to overwrite the customizations. You say yes. So now I'm in a CAM advanced role. So now say I wanted to add or remove some of these functions to make it more streamlined for my daily tasks. So me personally, I don't like find features in my feature-based navigation stuff up at the very top here. I don't mind going in and right-clicking and doing the find features in this method. So I would rather have the real estate up here for icons that are deeper in different drop-downs to be able to just go and pick an icon. So what we're going to do is we're going to right-click in the ribbon. We're going to say customize. Now to remove items, all you do is grab the items, drag them onto the screen. You see that black X, it's gone. Now if I want to add something, say I want to add wave geometry linking. I select wave here, it gives me my different items. So I'll just put the associativity manager. So once I hit close to this, now I have this icon up here. So you just build it this way. Now, once you have this built the way that you want to see it, it also goes with these interfaces here, these different selections. You can have many, many different ribbons on the screen. This is just called your ribbon. That's the correct terminology for this area up here. But you can have icon bars in different places, like old style NX. Once you have it where you want it, all you do is go back to your roles. You right click, new user role. name your role, and then this is what you can tell what it's going to do. You can add a icon to it, a bitmap, and this is the different things that are available, applications available in that. So you can limit them. And I'll talk about this a little bit further when it comes to administration. You can limit what's in the role itself. And now if you include all, it'll include everything. If you current only what's currently active. Now, if you save dialogue memory, this will save all of the options that you've chose in the dialogues. If you do not choose this, then it'll go back to the way your template is set. So once I hit OK to this, it will create a new role. I already have one created, so I'm not going to create that. It'll give you a user folder. And then once I double click on this, it brings me back to my specific ribbon. So that's the first part of this demonstration CES session. The purpose of this is to be the most efficient that you can be as you're programming your daily tasks. So if you don't do turning, then remove show 3D IPW and on the turning side of things. If you don't use your toolpath display up here and you use it out of your verification, then remove this. And that gives you as much real estate as possible to be able to add custom icons, to be able to control functionality so that you don't have a lot of movement or dialogue selections. So it'll streamline your processes. It'll get you more familiar with the tools that you use consistently, and they'll be right at your fingertips. So that's create role and customize the ribbon. Now, customize dialogues. Customizing dialogues is a little bit more in depth, and there's a couple things that you have to do to make this work efficiently. Now, if we are in NX and we just want to change a dialogue on the fly to add something or remove something, it's only going to be saved in this particular program. If we want to make that to where our template is now changed to where that option is available in all future operations that we select, then we have to go into the templates and do that. So the first part, I'll show you how it's done inside of the just a standalone NX environment. And then I'll show you how to customize it across the board for all users that may be using that same environment through a server. And this is the way that you control information. So what happens in the shop is you see machinist. If you go up to a machinist and you ask them, can you tell who programmed this part? And if they say yes, then there's an issue, because what's happening there is there's personalities in programs. Personalities equal less efficiency. So there's no two processes that do the same thing on a part. Say you have the same pocket programmed by two different programmers. If you're going to get two different results, that's not a good thing. You want to develop your tooling to run as efficient as possible. You want to develop your processes to be able to run as efficient as possible. Your depth of cut, speeds, feeds, all the different criteria that makes that process efficient. And then you want to push that out to a server location, in like a server environment, so that all users use the same information. Because you can't gain efficiencies by somebody programming the way they want to program. You want them to program. You always want a programmer to be able to use their intuitive nature to be able to figure out a problem. But when it comes to a proven process, you don't want to reinvent the wheel every single time. You want to develop processes to their max efficiency and then repetitively use them. And we'll get more in depth into that with the administration side of things. So let's do a simple demonstration on how you customize dialogues inside of the particular program that you're using. So here's a standard face floor and wall milling operation. So you see you have all these different parameters, these different options available to you, these different drop downs, outputs, etc. So if I want to go in here and customize, say I don't want output to be involved in this dialogue anymore. I want my tool number to be pulled from the tooling information, my adjustment register, tooling information, cut com register, tooling information. So if I wanted to customize that out of there, I would go into options, customize dialogue, Now, when this comes up, I'm in dialog item type, customizable items. So I go down here to items used. This is a search query box here that tells you what's available to you. And then this, once you find it, so say I wanted to add cleanup passes, I would have to add new, and it would add it to the first group here. So I'm just going to go into tool group, geometry group. This is exactly what you're seeing inside of the operation. So you see you have geometry group, tool axis group, path settings group. So what I'm trying to remove is output and tool. So we're going to, it would be tool, is tool axis. So that's a baked in thing. You can't remove that. So I'll just pick another thing. So say we want to remove feed rates. So one reason why you would want to do this, depth of cut and feed rate, is once this is set, so this particular instance, we wouldn't want to do that because that is just a necessity for your general programming, is depth of cut and feed rate. But say this is a developed template to where it uses the same tool, same speed, same feed, same depth of cuts, and you have many different templates for different materials. So one thing that you can do on the administration side is you can remove that depth of cut and that feed rate so that your programmers use the template, but they don't have the option to go through and change those parameters on the fly. They will see a dialog that does not have a feeds and speeds or a depth of cut. It will always be set to whatever the template is saved at. So that's one way that you can control things. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how that's done. So we're going to be in path settings. We're going to take depth of cut, exit, feed rate, X. Now we preview the dialog. So now you see all I have is non-cutting moves, cutting parameters. I do not have a depth of cut or a feed rate. So once I hit OK to this, that's how the dialog is going to be. So now if you want to add options in, if you want to do some additional control, or say you have some API programming that you've done something to for the dialog, then you can just easily add that into another drop-down menu and then a sub-menu and have your custom information in there. And that's all done by the customized dialog. So that's just one example of customizing a specific operation dialog. So now this is where we get into some more of the meat and potatoes of a custom environment. So as I said before, Sandbox, we're going to create a sandbox. So any of the Siemens terminology, if you're watching any of the videos or anything like that, and they talk Sandbox, what they're talking about is they're talking about a custom environment that's segregated away from the standard install that you can manipulate and change to where you see fit. And it's not going to affect the standard installation. So there's a couple things that I have to explain before I go into detail on how that's done. So every time you start NX, there are environment variables that need set, places where it finds the information that NX needs to be able to operate. And this is done through two files. It's in program files, and I'll show you. It's in program files, C drive, program files, Siemens, whatever version of Siemens you're running, and then the UGII folder. There's a file called UGII_env_ug.dat. This file, it tells you directly at the top, customer changes should be made to the UGII_env.dat file, which is not the same file. The base environment variable settings is on _UG. The overriding environment variables is done in just UGII_env. So the following should never be changed. So every time you open up NX, it goes to this file first. It sets everything to default values, your standard installation in C drive. Then it goes to the UGII_env.dat file, and it tells you at the very top, this should be used to overwrite any standard NX environment variables. So I have a couple settings. This is for my Space Mouse, and these are some environment variables for iMachining. I'm sorry. So if this was a base out of the box install, it would be without any of this information. So the first thing it does when it opens NX is it goes out to this UGII_env_UG.dat file, sets all of the default environment variables. Then the very next thing it does is it goes to this UGII_env.dat file, and it overwrites any of the default environment variables with the user custom environment variables. So that's how it sets locations of the inner workings of NX. So what we have to do is we have to alter this UGII_env.dat file. Now, to do that, I have a sample. So what I did is I just put in a custom environment variable that's going out to a new resource folder on my external hard drive for this session. So what does NX use for its inner workings? It's program files, Siemens, whatever version of NX you're running. And anything to do with manufacturing is in the mock folder. In the mock folder, there's a resource folder. Now, the resource folder is everything to do with customizing NX CAM. This is how NX runs. It uses all of these different folders. So what we do is we create a copy of this resource folder, and then that's where I put it on my external hard drive for this session. So basically what I did is I ended up creating a custom environment inside of my resource, or inside of my external hard drive for this demonstration. So what NX is going to do is it's going to open up this UGII_env_UG.dat file. It's going to set everything to the default values, which is going to go to C drive, program files, Siemens, NX, mock resource. Then I'm going to then it's going to go to this UGII_env.dat file. It's going to pick up that custom environment variable that's going to push it out to this location. So it's not going to look at the hard drive anymore for its resource folder. So if I make changes to templates, to configurations, to anything that I need to make changes to, it'll be done in this resource folder and not my standard install. So if I mess it up, I can just go right back to my standard install, copy that folder, put it back. But the progression of this is you make this copy, you generally put it on a server. That way, if you have multiple users, they are pulling from the same database. So all the same speeds, feeds, tool libraries, templates, everything's the same. There's not a bunch of independent databases out there. Once you create this and it's running, the very first time you go to try to make a change, make a copy of it and then zip it up just for any type of issues that come about. If you run into an issue, delete this resource folder, unzip your other resource folder, and you're going again. So let's run through the process of making a custom environment. You have to have NX closed for this. So this is the standard with my few custom environment variables on it. This is my UGII env.dat file. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it and replace it with this that has my custom variable in it. But before I do that, I want to show you how you find out where are you pointing to? Where is your environment set to? Because a lot of companies, what I see happening is IT tries to control all this and they put it on a server that they don't have access to, which is a horrible idea. Because as programmers, we have to do a lot of modification to our interface and to the databases. So if customers try, or if IT tries to control it too tightly, you won't be able to save speeds, feeds, toolings, things like that. You won't be able to make alterations to templates. So I always recommend that the resource folder is always put on a server location that clients have full user rights to. That way that they can't get into the system and mess something up on the server. They have their own allocated location to be able to make changes as they see fit. That way there's no permission issues that transpire. So first thing we want to do is, in this version of NX, there's a nice little link that goes for a log file somewhere up in here, but it's always right here: menu, help, log file. So once this log file pulls up, you just go file or edit, find, type in mock, and we're going out to where the settings are set to. So right here is what we're looking for. So we're looking for, here's a custom directory, configuration directory, but now we're looking for resource. So you see, these are all of the different environment variables that NX uses to be able to run. So right here is CAM resource directory. And right now, the environment variable is setting it to look at C drive program file, Siemens, NX1872, mock resource. That's the standard installation. So now let's change this to run the new location. So this is our new location. I'm going to go into my standard installation, C drive, program files, Siemens, 1872, mock, UGII. And then I've already created these files, so I'm just going to change names. So now when I launch NX, it's going to first hit that original file, UGII_env_ug.dat file, set everything to default, which is the hard drive. Then it's going to go out to the secondary file, UGII_env.dat file, and it's going to see that custom environment variable that's pointing the mock resource folder to another location. Now I have an invalid configuration file. I believe I used the wrong. This looks okay. You go back to your log file, and then you can do find resource, inspection, so we're looking at here, it was up here, CAM resource right here. So you see now that's looking in a totally different location, which is a custom environment. So now we can make changes, and it's not using the same information. It's not using the standard installation. So now we're running off of a completely external environment. If we mess it up, we just copy the original and put it back in its place. So now to be able to, so let me go back here, and now that we've verified how to change this, to an external sandbox environment, I'll go through the process of how do I alter my templates so that it always and continually keeps those templates running the exact same way. So that's the example that I've given here. You create your custom resource folder, your sandbox. You alter your UGII_env.dat file. You change the properties of the template files or save a copy. This is how you modify the template itself, and then you test it. So once NX opens, this process that I'm going to be going through to show you is generally the way that it's going to work with almost all users, because when NX installs the templates, they're a read-only file. So you can only read them. You can't alter them. It just won't allow you to do that. So you got a couple options. One of your options is to go in, change the actual properties of that folder. So you would change the properties of this folder, and you would apply that. So now what that does is it allows you to read and write and overwrite those templates. I don't suggest that, because what happens is you're going to overwrite one of the templates with something that you don't want the template to be, and then now you're in the same position. You're going to have to go back to the standard install, copy that file back over to your custom environment, and then start over. So the way that I do it kind of ensures that that doesn't happen. So say I want to, there's a new feature that I'm in the beta testing for. So to be able to use that feature, it's not actually a part of NX yet. So I had to turn a custom environment on. Then I had to customize the dialog to add that feature in. So I'll show you what that feature is. We're going to do a file new. We'll do a standalone part. Works for me. Yeah, that's fine too. We're going to do turning though. So now if I go create operation and I choose rough turning, this by tangent smoothing, this is a new option available moving forward. It's not released yet, but moving forward in the newer releases of NX, this is going to become a standard option, but I'm testing it right now in beta. So to be able to do this, what I had to do is, and this again is just in this particular dialog. So I went into tool, so I see bitangial smoothing. This is the standard dialog. So all I have is cut strategy. So the first thing I did is I went in, first I turned the option on through an environment variable in my env.dat file. Then I came in here to custom dialog. I found bitangial smoothing. And then I told it, where do I want it to be at? Cut strategy. So once I hit add new, it's going to be right at the top. Now I have to tell it, where do I want it to be? This is where I want to see it. And there I see it, the addition to the dialog. So now it's a part of the dialog. But now if I close this file and I try to open up that, do this on a new file, I'm going to have to customize that each and every single time. Or I can go in here and I can do file new. I'm sorry, file open. Not in the UGII file. It would be in mock, resource, template part. There's one for inch and one for metric. So I have not done the metric yet. And I'm just going to go to turning. And then I'm going to open up the rough turn OD dialog. And I do have it in here. Okay, so I did do this one. Maybe I didn't do inch. Let's check inch. Now I'm going to open back up this. I did do it to both. So to do this, show you a correct example, let's go in here. And this is the template itself. So this isn't an actual program. So now it's gone. Now, if I try to save this, it allowed me to save this because I have already created this file. It's not a standard template. So this is what you would do to change this for all future times that you use this operation. So we just opened this inch template. We tool, orientation, cut strategies. I'm going to go to customize. Bitangential smoothing, I'm going to add it, put it where I want to see it. Preview it. It is in fact where I want to see it. I hit OK to this. OK. Now, if this were a standard template, if I went Control S or save, it would tell me this read-only file, can't do it. So what you would have to do is you just go File, Save As, come down to your turning, and then I just do a simple _1. I close my part. Now I go into my English. You see that you'll have both of them. This is the original. I'll go ahead and make this a 2. And then rename that. Now this is every time it goes to use that turning template, it's going to use this part that I had altered. Now I leave this turning to my original in for a few times just to make sure that my customization was correct, and in case I needed to go back. And once I do know it's correct, then I'll delete this. And the way that you can test is you just do a new. Yeah, well, that looks good. Create operation, turning, and we do in fact see our change made. So now that I know that, I can delete this original, and we are off and running in our custom environment. And that's the reason why you want to do this in a custom environment, in the sandbox, so that you always have something to go back to. But more than that is, if you're a single individual programmer, then it doesn't make much sense to make a custom sandbox environment if you're not doing extremely heavy, difficult customization. If you're just changing some templates here and there, doing that kind of thing, then you can change your base directory because it's your base installation. I would just make sure that you make copies of what you're going to change so that you can always revert back. The biggest benefit of using a sandbox is that you have a singular place for all users, all clients to be able to point to be able to pull the same information. You don't want a bunch of different options out there that people can pick and choose from when they see fit. You want to develop processes, develop tool strategies, depths, cuts, feed speeds, path options, and you want to repetitively, continually use those. If you're doing it over and over again every single time, then you're reinventing the wheel every time, and there's extreme inefficiencies in doing it that way. So that was customizing dialogues. This was an example of the original env.dat file. Now, administration of operations through templates. This is where we would go in, and once I developed a strategy, speed, feeds, depth of cut, tooling, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to erase most of these. So I'm just going to use the surface milling. There's some step downs to it, cut strategy. So if I wanted to use this as an administrative template to where I'm going to start controlling what my programmers have access to. And it may sound harsh, but it's the direction that we all must go. There needs to be one super user administrator to a set number of users. So if you have your shop broken down into these guys do milling, these guys do turning, these guys do wire, these guys do multi-channel machines, whatever it may be, and you have somebody that's like the lead person of that group, or if you have one lead person of a programming group that does everything, that one person should become an administrator to where he delegates out what is able to be done with the system. It should be a conglomerate of information at first. This is what we want to do. This is how we want to do it. This is what we want to conform to. This is the best we've found to do that specific operation for that specific feature with these specific tools. Now we're all going to conform to using this specific template, strategy, and tooling to accomplish that. So once you get to that point, this is where this becomes a big deal. So for this particular one, I mean, it's a floor and wall milling, and it's using these specific cut strategies. I don't think it has depth of cut, speeds of feeds. So we'll just do something to give it information. And it's using a 3-inch face mill. So what I would do for this is I would open this floor and wall template. Once I program this, I would put this in, I would save this into my templates so that when I go to create an operation, I have a floor and wall, that's my template. So for face milling. So once I did this, once I generated this, the way it sits, I would, something didn't like me there. So what I would do is I would go in and I would customize this, and I would remove this entire tool group. I would remove this entire path settings group. So now the only thing that the user has access to is their non-cutting, but see, I would still want to take out some of these depth of cuts. So I would take out depth of cut, step over, blank distance, depth of cut, Z offset. I would take all that out. So now all that the user has the ability to do is, I mean, I would even take these out because these should be done through the tool change. This normal first face, these would all be done, would taken out. I would even take out cut pattern. So let's make this realistic. So avoid wall type. It's going to get its method. There, that's what I would leave. So once I hit OK to this, the only thing that they can do is the part's going to be inherited, or they can select it. The cut area floor is going to be inherited. But now what I would do is I would save this template out. With a mill area parent group. So now when I go into geometry view, I have a mill area. Now I'm going to take this mill area, put it in here so that when this template is used again, it's going to come in just like this. Everything is going to be inherited. The speeds, feeds, depth of cuts, everything I removed is still in the background of this template. It's just not able to be seen. And then once I hit OK to this, I just go into this mill area and say, okay, this is my cut area, and generate, and I'm good. So that's a way that you can dictate to other programmers what they're able to have or what they're not able to have at their fingertips. And what I've seen a lot in shops, I've been doing this for 20 some years now, is you have a lot of personalities in there. One person may want to use old tooling to do something. Another person is up to technology and he likes using new stuff. The only thing that dictates whether person A is correct or person B is correct is how much time as a programmer did it take you to make that program, and how much time did it take programmer B to make their program. What is your cut time on program A, and what's your cut time on program B? If the time to create and machine is greater than programmer B, then he's obviously correct. But now if programmer A has a lesser programming time and a lesser cut time than programmer B, even though he's up on technology, then programmer A is correct. The only deciding factor on who is correct or who is not is the complete time it took to produce that part. Once you develop that best practice, then it should be set across the board. You should remove drop downs and different options available in the dialogues so that everybody must use them. If you have somebody, and then the administrator, if he sees a new tool, or if another programmer sees a commercial for a new tool that he may think will help an operation or help a process that you have, then that's when you take it, you go into the sandbox environment, you test it, then maybe you do a test on the floor for a realistic time comparison. And if it does beat your current process, then you modify the template and kick it out to the entire programming group. That's the process that it should always take. You shouldn't have a bunch of programmers program in any way they see fit. And one time you quote a part that has this exact plate on it, same features, and it takes you 12 hours to manufacture. The next time you have the same exact plate and it takes you 14 hours. That's what happens when you don't control these processes. So that's how you do the administration of operations through templates. So 3 takeaways from today's session. 1 would be your efficiency of using a customer environment. 2 would be the need for the sandbox or the custom resource folder. 3 would be the importance of setting and saving templates. And then 4 is removing personalities of programs by administrating. So each one of these different bullet points, there's merit to. Efficiency of the custom environment. Efficiency is not just quicker, it's safer. The need for the sandbox or the custom resource folder. There are enormous efficiencies to using a custom resource folder when you have multiple programmers. And there's an extremely large safety factor in play when you use a outside environment than your standard installation. You always have something to revert back to. The importance of setting and saving templates. If you do it incorrectly, then you're going to have to do it continually each and every time. If you do it with the correct methodology, then those templates will be rolled out like new features. And then removing personalities of programs by administrating. There's a very, very large amount of information out there on why to take personalities away from programs. The person on the floor running the part should never be able to tell who programmed it. When that happens, then you know that you are as efficient as possible. So when you're ready to take it to the next level, Saratech offers an enormous amount of engineering services to address all your demand for advanced engineering capabilities. That can be CAD, CAM, CAE, testing, analysis. We do complete builds. So if you have a product that needs done, we can do everything from the engineering side of it to the manufacturing. We also have a ton of additive manufacturing capabilities. These 4 being 4 of the top ones: Markforged, HP, Big Rep, and Unitech. And then here are some of our social media. We are on Twitter at Saratech, and Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and the Saratech blog. We do the CSE sessions once a month, and then we do tech tips. So if you look at Saratech on YouTube, there's a lot of information to do with NX and Siemens products.